Your alternative talk radio contact. The Planet. KGRAradio.com.
With infinite complacence, people went to and fro over the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or design, man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space.
So, okay, well, I know that all of this started for you when you were little. So if you want to start from the beginning, I think that's probably a good place to start. And is it okay to use your first name?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right, Matt. Well, thanks so much. Yeah, wherever you want to start.
Okay. So when I was little, I would see a certain thing. And it would always be like when I was in my room going to bed. It was like this. The only way that I can describe it is like a shadow figure, because I've heard a lot of people describe shadow figures saying it's more black than the darkness. Mm-hmm. So I was able to see details within the dark. And it was always this figure that was almost in like a fetal position in the corner, like top corner on the ceiling in my room. Mm. And I remember seeing red eyes, and it would just stare at me. I wouldn't, like, I was scared of it, but I didn't get like any kind of like bad vibes off of it. But I thought it was just in my head. I thought, watching scary stuff or whatever, it was just a part of my imagination.
How old were you at that point?
I was 6, 7, 8 years old.
Okay.
And then once I went through puberty, all that kind of went away. I didn't really experience anything through my like teenage years. So I mean, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was my imagination. But my nephew's father, his mom is a Wiccan, and I remember one day she told me that there was something different about me, that I could see and talk to spirits. I never had anything like that happen though, other than the shadow figure, if that's what you want to call it, in my bedroom. But as I got older, things started to kind of unfold. I mean, I went through a rough childhood. And I went through a rough, teenage years and all that kind of stuff. And so like once I got my life back on track is when I guess you could say like I opened up spiritually. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I just kind of, this door just opened. And I've had things happen that other people have witnessed because I kept it all to myself. Because I didn't know if it was in my head. I didn't know, like if you walk into like a scary building, I don't know if it's normal for people to see things, and imagine things. Like I don't know how other people's minds work, but I just kept everything I saw or felt to myself. But then one day I got comfortable enough with the group that I run with, and I said something, and not only did I see it, they saw it. So it kind of like scared me a little bit because I was just, spitting in the wind with it. I didn't know if anything was going to happen. I didn't know if it was real. I was just, hey, we're here, we're doing this. I might as well tell you guys like what I'm feeling and what I'm seeing.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I've talked to psychics, mediums, and it's so weird. Like, I'm going to go like way into the future with this, but so back when I was 18 years old, I was going through a real rough time, and I went to church when I was younger. I went to a Baptist preschool and all that kind of stuff, but I never like went to church for church things. Like, I just went just to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always doubted my faith. I've always doubted God. I've always doubted anything that I can't see. It's just, to me, it's human nature. And I was going through a really rough time. And I remember I spoke to somebody about, like, God and religion and stuff like that. And basically the conversation ended up the same way it always does, which is I ask so many questions and they tell me, well, it's just faith. You have to have faith and rely on the faith. And I'm like, well, that's not enough for me.
Right.
And so they gave me the Lord's Prayer, and so I said it, and they're like, you'll know when, Jesus comes into your life. And so I said it, and nothing happened. Same thing. It's always been my whole life. And a couple weeks go by. I was having a really rough day. So I did the whole cliche thing. I kneeled down next to my bed and I said it again, and nothing happened. So I got really frustrated. And as I was laying down to go to sleep, I was talking to myself in my head, and I was just saying, God, you know me, you know how I am. Give me a sign that you hear me, that I have you, in my life, and just give me something. So the next day, my girlfriend at the time, I took her car to go to a grocery store. It was late at night. I parked in a random parking spot. I get out, and there's 2 sticks and a cross as soon as I open my door, and I step out. And to me, I took that as my sign. Now, granted, there was a pile of sticks like off to the distance, and somebody could have done that. But to me, I would have been negligent to just look that over.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took that as my sign. Forward now, probably 4 months ago, I was in a documentary a year ago about the paranormal, and I met this other group. For some reason, something told me to reach out to them. So I reached out to them, and I met up with them, and I was going to do an investigation with them. And they claim to be psychic mediums. I don't really know how much I want to believe into that, because I don't really understand it. And with me doing this kind of stuff, I couldn't tell you how many people I run into that tell me they're psychic and mediums. Like, it's
Right.
basically like everybody. So I don't really know who to trust. But I met up with them, and they told me about their teacher, how she's like super psychic, and I didn't tell them anything about me. I didn't tell them any of my experiences. And through the night, they eventually got the courage, I guess you could say, to tell me that what they said was, like, between the two of them, they have to like work towards basically to conjure up a spirit or to like communicate with the spirit. But they said I can just walk into a room and automatically things are happening to me and I can see things. And they were starting to talk about these 3 entities that surround me, and 2 of them are good and 1 of them's bad. And now that makes sense for me. I'll get into that later, but they were just hitting on certain things that made sense. And they were like, I told them the things that happened to me. They're like, well, we'll take you back to our teacher before we go do the investigation and see if she can't give you more answers. So I meet up with this lady, and she didn't know why I was there. I just kind of showed up, and I guess she thought they just popped in to say hi. And she went outside to go smoke a cigarette. And I was like, this is my chance to go talk to her. So I went outside and I tried to ease into the conversation on why I was there. And basically she said she felt bombarded by me. Like I was like basically like poking at her saying like, do this, do that, like prove to me you're real, which wasn't my intentions. But like, I didn't know how else to come. Like I've never met a psychic medium before. So if people are telling me that this person is legit and I have like serious things going on that I haven't found any answers to, I'm like trying to pry out, because I'm, on a limited amount of time, I'm trying to pry out something so I can figure out my problems.
Right.
And she didn't really tell me anything. She just told me there was something that happened when I was little that was really messed up. And I didn't know what she was talking about. She said that I was so blocked. Basically, she didn't tell me anything. Then she walks away, and we're still outside and we're talking and everything. And we were going to leave to go do the investigation. And as my friend was going up to say bye to her, I told him, I'm like, hey, can you go up there and tell her that, like, I didn't mean to step on her toes, like, tell her I'm sorry. And he's like, well, it would be better if you went up there and did it for her. So I went up there and I told her that. And that's when she opened up to me. She told me to come into her room and made him leave. And it was just a weird experience and a weird vibe. Like I felt like she was inside my head, and her son, which I didn't know, but he had autism. He like came up to me and patted me on my shoulder just randomly while we were talking, and then kissed me on my shoulder, and she like gave me this weird look, like she's like, he never does that to anybody. And when I found out, he had autism, I'm just like, they don't, everyone's different, but if she's saying like he's not like that towards people, it's really weird because I've never met them before. But I was telling her about the things that I see, and it's always dark, like evil things. And basically she just like told me like, I don't know what she meant by it, but she said, if you come across anything evil or demonic, just know that you don't have to fight it. And I don't know what she meant by that. Like in my head, I'm thinking like, what do you want me to like get possessed or something? Like, what are you talking about? But then I had to leave. So she went to go shake my hand, and something told me to give her a hug. So I hugged her. And when I did that, it felt like something went inside my chest, bounced off like my spine, and tried to exit, and it wouldn't. So like the place that I was investigating it was in like an old town. So like it was right down the road. So as I'm walking, I'm like beating on my chest like I have a cough or something, because that's what it kind of felt like. I needed to like get something out of my abdomen. I get to the location. The group is already like setting up stuff inside. One of them's outside. And I go to my car to start getting out my equipment. And they all start coming towards me, and they're like, what did she tell you? What did you guys talk about? And as I'm walking up to meet up with them, I look down because I was getting ready to step on it. There's 2 sticks in a cross. I'm in the middle of a gravel, like pea gravel driveway, and the river's like down behind it. There's no trees anywhere. It's like buildings. I don't know where these would have came from. And it was just super weird. And the feeling that I got was just, I can't describe it to you, but like my belief system, I do consider myself to be a Christian, but I don't believe what a normal Christian believes. I guess you could say like I coexist. I take a little bit from everything and make my own, but I do consider myself a Christian. So like for me to have the mindset that I do and believe what I believe and do the things that I do, because I've been told by so many people investigating the paranormal is like wrong. Everything is evil and all these things. To me, it's validation to me from my God that I'm on the right track. Everything's going to be fine. And he's got my back. Like, it's just the coolest thing in the world to me that I've had that happen to me. But I mean, yeah, that's basically that. But I mean, I feel like that was a sign for me that I'm on the right path, and everything that I'm thinking and doing is right. It's right for me, because I don't believe that any other person, if they're Muslim or whatever, is wrong. I believe everybody is right. As long as they believe in something more than themselves, they're okay. So for me, it was my validation from my God that everything I believe is good for me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a good philosophy to have, I think. Like you said, just think of something bigger than yourself and you try to stay humble, right?
Right.
So what about when she hugged you, or when you hugged her, I should say?
Yeah.
Did you get a sense that it was a good thing or a bad thing that you had this transfer of energy or whatever that was?
I think she was, because she did say, like, just be careful when you go over there. And when I told them what she did, they said that she was probably protecting me, which made sense. The fact that when I got there, I saw that cross. Like, it just kind of made sense that, like, hey, I was supposed to talk to her.
Right.
It wasn't a bad experience. And I mean, that's the only thing I can take, because she gave me a weird look after I hugged her. Like, I don't know if she felt the same thing I felt or
Right.
or what. Like, I don't know. It was really bizarre, but she couldn't really help me on the things that happened to me. And I mean, I'm still kind of lost for words with the things that happened. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I've heard from so many people that I need to ground myself and, like, certain things that I need to do. And it's just, that's not my lifestyle. That's not the kind of person that I am. I don't do those kind of things. And I don't want to become that kind of person.
What do they mean that you need to ground yourself?
Like, they're talking about my chakras and stuff like that. Like, for protection, I need to ground myself, like go around barefoot and stuff like that. And to me, that's like changing, like, my spirituality, and that's not how I roll. So I don't want to go. It's not like I can't turn it off. It's not like it happens all the time. It's just when it happens, it's never anything good. And when I went to go talk to that psychic, she told me certain mediums pick up on certain things, and you might be more sensitive. And because you're more sensitive, imagine it like someone smiling and laughing at you versus someone screaming and yelling. Which one's going to get your attention more? So negative energy is more powerful than positive energy. So that might be why I only pick up on negative things. I mean, I've had positive things happen, like the whole cross and stuff like that. Like, that's positive. I've definitely had good things happen. But, like, the negative is, like, straight out of a movie bad.
Do you find it, when you look back, maybe frustrating isn't the right word, but when you first met her, when you tried to talk to her and she was smoking her cigarette, you saw it as an opportune time, but she wasn't very receptive to it. Is that strange to you now looking back? Or maybe she was just being bombarded by your quote unquote energy? I mean, what do you think that was, that first meeting?
I mean, that's what she said. She said she felt bombarded by me. And then when she left from outside and went back inside, she said she had to get away from me. Like, there was something going on with me that she had to get away from. Like, it was making her sick. I do think she felt bombarded, because, I mean, like, anybody would. But at the same time, when I was talking to everyone about it, she's a psychic medium. She has, like, a place. Like, she's a witch. She has, like, all kinds of crystals and rocks, and people come there and she teaches them, and they do those kind of things. So she's used to people coming to her. You know what I mean? So she should have been, I guess, more professional, I think.
Right.
You know, like, knowing, like, I'm putting my trust in you. She knew I was on limited time, and I just wanted answers. And it's like, I've tried to talk to her, like, recently. I messaged her, and because I was going to be willing to go over there and pay her whatever I had to do. to go to her classes or whatever, just for her to help me, because yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's crazy, and it's not like it's all in my head, and it's not like, oh, I'm like by myself every time this happens. Literally every time it happens, I'm surrounded by people and they witness it. Yeah, like it's not, and that's what I mean. It's just, it's so weird, and it's the same thing every time. It's not like it's different. It was, and that's when I to go back when I said, like, I don't know if everyone thinks the same way, and when they walk into like a scary building, does their mind wander? Like, to go back to that, when I go on an investigation, I go to creepy places. I don't go to like people's houses. I mean, I go to these famous places that are just creepy. Like, I've been to Trans-Allegheny, Rolling Hills Asylum, West Virginia State Penitentiary. Like, these places are just creepy. You get this vibe when you go in there. I mean, everyone has fear. I don't care what any person says. Everyone gets scared. But eventually that fear goes away and you realize, like, okay, everything's cool. Like, it's not like going crazy and it's just a building. You calm down. Well, how come when you're calm, all of a sudden these things pop up in your head and you start seeing these things? And when I've tried to explain to people like how I'm seeing it, they look at me like confused. I guess I might not be explaining it right. But the best way for me to explain it is, if you were looking at something and like, if you were to take like a piece of paper and put it in front of your face, that's what happens. It's like, I see what everyone else sees, and then all of a sudden this thing comes out. I can't see, it's like a solid thing. I can't see beyond it. It's like if it were real, and I see it doing things, but nobody else does. Like, I don't know how else to explain that. And I don't know if that's like when people say like they see spirits and stuff, like, I don't know if that's how they see it. Like, I don't know. And that's why I kept it to myself, because I didn't know if it was in my head. I didn't know if it was my imagination. And like I said, when I verbalized what I was seeing and what I was feeling, that's when everything hit the roof. And I mean, I contemplated on quitting doing the investigating and everything like that. And I've invested so much time and money into it. Like, it was so scary. Like, I never want to experience that again ever in my life.
Well, what's the scariest thing that you've seen?
It's not the scariest thing. It's the same thing. What I first saw. Okay, I was in Ohio. I was at Prospect Place or Trinway Mansion, whichever people know it by, and that place is rumored to have a portal to hell. I went to this place knowing that, but a lot of the places that I go to, I mean, there's always things like that. But so apparently in the 1960s or 70s, it was abandoned, and through that time, the occult would go in there and they would practice satanic rituals. Mm-hmm. And there was markings on the walls up in one of the rooms. The guy who owns it now is a great grandson to the guy who built it. They parged over these markings and put crosses on them. Like I said, that stuff is like common when you go to places and investigate. I mean, the word demon comes out of people's mouths more than it should, but
it does. Yeah.
So we go there, and my friend Clayton, he kept talking about the demons. He wouldn't like stop talking about it, which was very off. Like, that wasn't him. He kept saying, like, if we figure out its name, we can get rid of it. And I told him, I'm like, you're not a priest, man. Like, don't go down that road. You're not, don't. And we would, we're doing the investigation, and he would just keep going and going. I have a clip of 45 minutes. I brought a Ouija board, which, thinking back now, I probably shouldn't have. And me and him have a connection to Ouija boards. That's the whole reason why we made a paranormal group and started doing it. but I brought it just because it's a piece of equipment and you never know if you might use it or not. So I brought it, and I have 45 minutes of footage of him literally standing there recording this Ouija board. We don't leave each other like that. We always know where everyone is just for safety. I don't know when he had the time to do that. It didn't make any sense because we were always together. And for him being gone for 45 minutes, somebody would have known. And plus he had my expensive camera that I don't let anybody use. It was just...
So the camera is set up, trained statically with him sitting on the ground with the Ouija board, or what's the shot like for 45 minutes?
No, he's standing, and the Ouija board is on a table, and he's just standing, not moving. Just the camera is just viewing the Ouija board. Don't know why. The planchette wasn't on the board. It wasn't anywhere near it. He was just staring at it. And for 45 minutes. Yeah.
Oh.
And before that, I think it was before that, we all went back to like the break room to, get food, water, and recharge stuff. And he just walks over to the table, grabs the Ouija board, and walks back over. And he's I think he was talking about putting the Ouija board up in the ballroom area, which was where the portal to hell supposedly is. And one of my team members was like, I don't think that's a good idea. And the other one was like, why? And she's like, because this is our safe place. Like, we don't want to do that. And he says that everything would be okay because a demon usually is confined to the area in which it is summoned. Like weird stuff. Like, and we kept going in and out of the building because it was really, really hot. When we went outside, and he was going on and on about it, like talking about Beelzebub and getting way too deep into it. And I lost it. And I told him, I said, I wasn't like super aggressive, but I was stern with him. And I told him, I'm like, you have to stop. If you don't stop, you're going to have to leave, because we don't know if this stuff is real. We don't know anything about it. And not only are you putting yourself in jeopardy, you're putting all of us in jeopardy. And I'm not okay with that. And the mood just kind of changed. And they are all sitting on the front steps. It's not a large porch or anything. And I'm on the sidewalk area facing them. And I just kind of like zone out. They're talking, and I just started looking at them, and I saw this entity open the door. And this is the same entity that I've seen multiple times. I don't know if it's male or female, but I would say it's about 5'7", 5'8". It's wearing what you would like a hospital gown or like a nightgown, just white. It has like not like long fingernails like a vampire or something like that, but just like someone who doesn't take care of their hands. And what looks to me like charcoal. It's like black on the fingers, and as it comes up the wrist, it kind of fades away on both arms. And the nightgown is like, it comes, the sleeve comes down to like the elbow, and the hair is like jet black, and it looks like spider webs. Like the best, it looks like thin hair that's like you just got out the shower and it dried, and it's like you didn't brush it kind of thing. Like the Ring, that's what it looks like, except like way worse. Like the hair is way worse. And it keeps its head down enough to where I can see like the V. I can see like a nose and a mouth and the chin, and that's it. And when I saw it, it rushed at me. And when it rushed at me, it like whispered something to me as it passed me. And it basically told me something bad was going to happen to Clayton. And I don't know what pushed me to tell them, but I just kind of broke whatever they were talking about. It was just so weird. Like I was in my own world and it was just silent. And then all of a sudden it passed me. I heard what it said and I told them, and it was like, it just stopped. You know what I mean? Like it was like if someone were to walk into like a room and everyone just stops and stares at you. And
did it tell you in detail how Clayton would be injured?
No.
Or?
No, it just, I mean, I didn't see a mouth move. I didn't, like, it was like in my head kind of thing. Like I just, and it didn't say it, but I felt it, if that makes any sense. It's like,
right.
And so I told them what I saw, what I got from it. And immediately after I said that, I had the most rage come over me that I've never felt in my life, to the point where I literally contemplated on murdering him. I literally saw my hands go around his throat and snap his neck. I don't know why. He's my best friend. I grew up with him. And literally it lasted like a second. And then it was just pure sadness. Like I started bawling, and I don't know where any of it was coming from. And so I did what my first instinct was, which was to get away from the building. So I started walking down the driveway, like towards the cars. And this feeling was not going away. And it was like I was fighting the sadness and the murder feeling. It was like bouncing back and forth. I can't explain it. Like I literally felt like something was taking over my body and I had no control. Like I was still there, but it's like I was taking on two different emotions that were trying to take over mine. And I can't tell you how exhausting and scary that is, because you can't get rid of it. You don't, like, I was so vulnerable. I didn't know what to do. I had nothing to cling on to. And so I get to the car and I pull out my Bible and I start reading scriptures, and it's not working. So they all come over to me and they're like, "What's going on?" And I told them, and I went back into the building, like just walked right back to the building, opened the door, and I just started yelling, like, "Whatever is in here, you cannot oppress me. You cannot affect my body. I do not give you permission to do anything like this to me. You need to leave my body." And me and I wouldn't really call him a team member. He was just kind of there on that investigation, first time ever. And this kid has like severe ADD. He cannot stay still. I'm not even for a second. And we go back to the break room, and I fall, me and him both, we fall down on the ground to our knees. And I felt this like stabbing pain in my stomach, like I was going to vomit. And this lasted like 20, 30 minutes. We could not move. Like it was just like, I felt like I was going to throw up. I could feel, I know this is descriptive, but I could like feel the vomit like in my throat. Like it was going to happen. And then it just kind of slowly went away. One of my team members, Patricia, she told me, she said she saw the look in my face. Like it wasn't me. Like my eyes, everything changed. My whole demeanor, everything. She's never seen me like that before. I was still there. Like, I'm not saying like I was possessed or anything. I definitely think like I was oppressed by something, but I mean, I don't know. And that right there for me, it was like, it was so real. And I didn't believe, like, I watch all the shows, like I do that, and I don't really know what I believe, but I never thought that something could take over your body like that. I didn't think like people could actually like feel stuff like that. I didn't believe that.
Right.
And so when that happened to me, it was just absolute and total fear. Like I can't explain it to you. I've never been so scared in my life. And yeah, I mean, that's not the last time I saw that entity. I went to St. Albans Sanatorium in Virginia, and the whole team went there. Nothing really happened. A couple small things. Wasn't scared, didn't get any kind of bad vibes. And I was with my buddy Dan and Patricia, and we are in what they call the purple room. And I have my camera with like a big box light on a window inside. It was like I don't know what kind of window, like why there was a window inside, but it was like a busted out window. So I had it sitting in the window and facing us. And then I had a light grid pointing down a hallway. And I told Patricia, I said, I'm getting like a bad feeling. Like I feel it again. And she said to me, like in Ohio. And I said, yeah. And she said, is it bad? And I said, yeah, but it's not like that. Like it's bad, but it's not the same. And I was looking down the hallway. They were sitting on couches apart from each other. And all of a sudden, like I'm looking down the hallway, I saw a person, the back right room, like poking out, like peeking out at me. And I'm on the spirit box and I say, I see someone down at the end of the hallway. Like, are you the one that I see? And this voice comes through and it says, we see you. Then this entity that I described in Ohio, it's like comes from like the veil. It just like broke, like it was dark in that room. And then when they came out into the hallway, it's like they illuminated and I saw the same entity. And when I saw that, my light grid turned off. And you see me react. Like I have all this on video. I turn around and Patricia's like, oh my God, the light grid went off. And I'm like, I know, the only way that you can turn it off is if you slide it out of the tripod. And the second I say that, my light on my camera blows up. Like, that's what I mean. It's not just things that are happening to me. Everyone else gets to see it. And I don't understand why I keep seeing this same thing. Like, I don't understand. And it'll come out of random. Like, it won't be at my house. It won't be like at a friend's house or a gathering or anything like that. It's when I go out to these places and I'm seeking this stuff. And I started having dreams where, like I was going to get possessed. I never got possessed, but it was leading up to possession. Like my rosary would, be like swinging around like a lamp or something, and things would like poltergeist activity would start happening. There was another dream where this entity was following in my dream, and I kept jumping from dream to dream, trying to get away from it. And eventually I jumped into just black, and it was just circling around me, just mocking me. I mean, I've had premonitions. I've had, like I had a dream of this church, and basically what happened was me, my friend Matt, and Clayton, who were all a part of the paranormal group, we went in there, we were exploring it, we walked from one side to the other. When we got to the one end, crazy things started happening. I mean, like poltergeist activity, things started just flying everywhere, and we just started running, jumping over everything we could just to get out. We went to West Virginia State Penitentiary. We were there for like 6 hours. I had no idea that there was a church inside the yard. I mean, there's like a 20-foot tall perimeter wall around this whole yard. And I didn't think we had access to it, but come to find out we did. When I walked up on it, I was like, wait a minute. I've seen this building before. And they're like, there's no way. Like we're 5 hours from home. And I told him, I'm like, I had a dream about this place.
Mm.
And I was with 5 people. Ironically, the only 2 people who went with me were Matt and Clayton. And I told him, I said, before we go in here, I want to tell you guys what this looks like inside. Because if it's not what I say it is, then we're fine. I was like, but if it is, I don't want to go in here. And sure enough, it was the same layout as my dream.
You described it.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, I'm just going to pause you right there for a moment. We've got a word from our sponsor. I ask you, what would it look like if we all listened more? Listening to audiobooks motivates us, inspires us, even brings us closer together. There's no better place to listen than Audible, because now Audible members get even more. Exclusive audio fitness programs, audiobooks, Audible originals, and more. Audible has the largest selection of audiobooks on the planet, and now, with Audible originals, the selection has gotten even more custom, with content made for members. And phrases with titles right up our alley, like True Paranormal Police Stories, The Synchronicity Highway, Beyond Strange, and more. Go to audible.com/FRAY or text FRAY to 500-500. Every month, Audible members get 1 credit good for any audiobook they choose, plus 2 Audible originals from a changing selection that they can't get anywhere else. They also get access to audio fitness and health workouts created exclusively for Audible. Plus, your books are yours to keep. With Audible, you can go back and re-listen anytime, even if you cancel your membership. Didn't like your audiobook? Exchange it. No questions asked. Start a 30-day trial, and your first audiobook is free. Go to audible.com/FRAY or text FRAY to 500-500. And now, back to Matt.
It's crazy. And I don't know if, I don't know. Like those guys, they aren't doing so good now. Like I'm not going to get into personal details about them, but
Right.
they are no longer in the group. And these guys were my childhood best friends. I got married, got a house. I kind of went a different direction in life. But I got started because of these guys and the experience that we had with the Ouija board. Like I don't know if like that's why these things are happening because of what happened with the Ouija board.
Now, before you get into that, as far as the entity goes, do you think it's possible that it's just trying to warn you away from these places? I do find it interesting that you only see it when you go out, seeking to do documentaries, or you're trying to film something or engage whatever might be, quote unquote, living at these locations. Is there any shot at that being what it's trying to do, or you think it's definitely a malevolent force?
I don't know. I've thought of everything under the sun. I mean, when I was having those demonic dreams, it was like every night I would, you could, be banging on a door or put like a megaphone on and I will not wake up to it. And these dreams, I would like find myself standing up, like cursing, like screaming the F word as I'm waking up. And my wife would be like, "What are you doing? What's going on?" And, that's when I contemplated on, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I live around a lot of churches, just like everybody. But every time I would drive by these churches, I would just double look them. Like if you saw like an attractive woman or a man, it's like it was the first time me seeing it. I don't know why they were catching my eye. All these biblical signs, like my faith-based stuff. And so I was like, is this a sign that I need to stop? Like I'm getting too deep into this. And So I told myself I'm going to take a break on this. I'm not going to get back into it again. And if I do, it's going to be a while because I've got to work on myself. And it was probably like a year later when I went to St. Albans. So I mean, I don't know. I would hope not. I mean, this is like my passion. This is something that I love. Like doing investigations, you can't get that thrill anywhere else. I mean, like I'm a history nut, and I get to go inside of crazy buildings that nobody else gets to, and experience crazy things. And to know, like my father, I bring him stuff home all the time, and I show it to him, and he never believes it. I think it's because he doesn't want to believe it. But at the same time, I think it brings him closure because, I mean, he is older, and he's talked about death a lot. Not that I really want to talk about that with him, but
right.
I think it brings him closure because I don't think everybody fears like what happens when you die. And for me, it's like so cool that I know there's something else. I've contacted kids, men, women, bad, good, I know there's something. And it's just so crazy to me that like this world that we live in, everyone like clings on to cliche things and doesn't think outside the box and like it has to be this way.
Mm-hmm.
And it really doesn't. Like if you just open yourself up, you would be so surprised at how much this world like really has to offer. If you take away cell phones, cars, and all that stuff and just go outside, it's crazy like to think about that people are actually like that. I mean, you want to simplify your life, but yet your smartphone's so complex. Like that just doesn't make any sense to me. It's your
right.
world and your life is so much bigger. But I would hope that that's not the case because, I mean, I love it. I wouldn't want to do anything else.
So what about the entity itself? Has anyone else seen it, or so far you know of just you that has to experience this thing?
No, I mean, it's just me. I mean, one of the my buddy Matt, who was in the group, when we got back from West Virginia State Penitentiary, he and his whole family would talk about seeing this white ball travel throughout his house, and how they would see like a dark shadow figure in the house. And I've talked to other teams because a lot of groups out there, they want to stay to themselves. They all want the next TV show, and they don't want anyone to steal their glory.
Right.
But I like to go out there and talk with them and see if we can't do things together. I mean, there's no like community for the paranormal that unless you go to like a convention, but there's no like nobody's really down to work together for the greater cause. Because I mean, after all, you should be doing it for educational purposes and for questions that you have. I mean, it shouldn't be about trying to become the next star.
It's like that across all the fields. Bigfoot, UFO, paranormal, it's all the same, unfortunately.
Right.
People just mess it up.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
So the Ouija experience, that is not in fact the one where you said he was down there staring at the thing for 45 minutes. There's a separate incident.
Yeah, this was the original that got everything started. I've explained it to other people. I don't know if it's going to make any sense to you or to the people that are going to listen. I have it written on like a piece of paper, so it might make more sense to me. And I mean, like, go ahead and ask me, like, why did you, like, how did you get that? Like, go ahead and like pick at me. Don't just like let me tell you and you know what I mean? Like, tell me if it sounds crazy. But I used to make Ouija boards, like out of anything, like a pizza box, a cardboard box, whatever. I would write on Sharpie the alphabet. I would literally make it look the way it does on the board. And we would use like mason jar tops, anything that we could use, really. Nothing really happened. You know, we just did it to spook ourselves. And I was always with these people. They were like my family. I was with them every weekend. And my friend Matt, he had a girlfriend. They were dating for like three or so years, but they have a really rocky relationship. Like, I don't know how they are now, but back then they argued a lot. But so I started making this Ouija board. Nobody wanted to play it, but I was just going to make it anyways and basically force them to play it. But as I'm basically finishing the board, Matt and his girlfriend, his girlfriend's name was Crystal. They were arguing like really loud. So they went outside because he didn't want to like wake up his parents. And it's just me and Clayton. We're sitting on a futon. And he's like crouched over like he's sick or something. But he's a weird dude, like, so I don't question anything that he does. And so I'm making the board, and as I get done, he says, do you ever get random numbers in your head? And I was like, no. And like I said, he's a weird dude, so I didn't question it. And I'm still working on the board. And finally, I get done. He's like, 19, 20, 15, 16. He's like, does that mean anything to you? And I'm like, no, dude. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was frustrated because they were arguing. You know, I was trying to hang out with my friends. I wasn't trying to have drama. And he's like trying to think of like school lunch IDs or driver's license number, old phone numbers, anything. And he can't come up with it. And he's like, there's 23 letters in the alphabet, right? I'm like, nah, there's 26. And in my head, I don't know why, but I was like, I'll count out, 19, 20, 15, 16 on the board. And it didn't spell anything because I just continued where I left off. But I was like, what if I go 19, go back to A and do it that way? And it spelled stop. And when I told him, like, he was helping me figure this out, the light flickered. And me and him just froze. And we're like, what the hell is going on? I go outside and I get my buddy Matt and I tell him, I'm like, this just happened, dude. Like, what the hell? And he's out there arguing with her and he's kind of like blowing me off. He's like, he's messing with you. He knows how many letters in the alphabet. Like, you planned that, which wouldn't be like, he would do something like that. So we all go back inside and I'm not letting it go for some reason. Like, I just wouldn't let it go. And I was trying to think more into it. And I don't know why, but it just popped up into my head. And I'm like, how many letters are in everybody's name? I'm talking first, middle, and last. I didn't know Matt's middle name. I didn't know Crystal's middle name. I didn't know Clayton's middle name because Clayton's middle name is Clayton and his first name is William. I didn't know that. So, no, I don't think anybody really knew everybody's middle name. But come to find out, Matt's name is 19 characters, Clayton's is 20, mine is 15, and Crystal's is 16.
What the hell?
Yeah. And so we're like, what the hell is going on? And it just spooked us out. I mean, and that kind of like, that was like our thing. That was our story. And that's really what got us like really into it and decided to go forth with like trying to see what else was out there. 5 or 6 years later.
Just to stop you real quick. When is this in the timeline? Is this just before you guys went out to Prospect Place, or is this quite a bit before that?
This is quite a bit before that. This was probably 5 years before that.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, sorry for the interruption.
And this was like when I was 20, 21, something like that. I'm 27 now. But 4 or 5 years later, my best friend Matt ended up, him and Crystal ended up getting pregnant. And that's my godson. And this is the part where I don't know if it's going to make sense to you or not. But he was born, you know, everything was fine. And we went to DC. One of our friends had a friend come over from the UK. We were taking him around DC into the zoo. And it was like later at night, so we went to go get something to eat before we left. And Crystal said something to me about, like, isn't it ironic? His due date was 6/19/2015. And I'm like, not really, because to me, that's not, because where's the 6 come from?
Right.
You know, like, it doesn't make any sense. For some reason, I don't know why, this stuff started like going into my head. It's not like I sat down for hours trying to figure this out. I have it in front of me right now. It's a guest check from the place that I wrote it on. It just came to me and I just started writing. His name is Ashton, Ashton. And what I did was I spelled out his name on the alphabet. So like A would be 1, S would be 19, H would be 8, and so on. And what I did was any of the numbers that did not have any correlation with our numbers, I got rid of.
Mm-hmm.
So I started from A and I worked my way to the end. So like A was 1, didn't have anything to do with our experience. So I got rid of that. And when I got rid of that, I took that number to the next number. So like to the next number that didn't have any correlation with us. So the A being 1, the S being 19, the S had something to do with us because the 19. So I circle that. I bring the 1 from the A to the H, which is 8. Has nothing to do with what we were, like, our experience. So I add it to the 8, which is now 9. And I do that continuously till I get to the N, which is the N. And N is 14 characters in the alphabet. So when I took away the 1 from the A, and I took away the 8 from the H, which is now 9, I take that to the N, which is 14, and I add 9 to 14, which is 23. Which is nothing, right? It means nothing. So I'm like, what day was he due and what day was he born? He was due 6/19/2015. He was born 6/12/2015. The difference between those days is 7. So I do 7 minus 23, which is now 16. So within his name, it's, when I do that, I get the STOP, 19, 20, 15, 16.
Wow.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I know, like, you can come up with anything with numbers, but I mean, I don't have any scratches on this piece of paper. Like, it's all fluid. Like, I knew how to do it.
That's what I was going to ask you. I'm like, how did you even begin to come up with that? And how soon after, you know, the wheels start turning, do you actually scribble that down on the piece of paper?
Like, immediately after, the waitress came over and was like, do you want a refill? And I'm like, yeah, can I get a piece of paper and your pen? And I walked away for a minute and I just started writing it. And I'm like, look at this. And his child, he's Ashton's 3 now. And they're doing good. I mean, they've got an apartment and they're together. They're raising their kid. And my buddy Matt tells me that Ashton talks about a ghost being in his room. And at 3 years old, he shouldn't know what a ghost is.
What's the description of the ghost?
I haven't asked him. I don't know if he's gotten one or not, but it'll be random and he'll be like, Daddy, the ghost. So
is
I mean,
scared,
I don't know.
Or is it just matter of fact? There's a ghost.
No, he's scared. Yeah.
That's not good.
So, like I said, I've talked to other groups and gotten like their input and knowledge and stuff. And they always tell me like, stay away from the dark stuff. But I like the dark stuff, not necessarily to like say demonic or evil in any sense, but in a sense, like a shitty person in life is going to be a shitty person in death.
Right.
And to me, if I go to someone's house whose grandmother passed away versus going to an insane asylum where people were mistreated, tortured, didn't know what was going on. And like Trans-Allegheny, not only did it have, mentally challenged people, but it also had criminals, murderers,
right.
And normal people. So I like to go to places like that because you get more activity, you get more extreme things. I mean, I've seen doors slam in front of my face. My friend Clayton, that was the first place that we ever went to, like a legit place. And that night, we had a door slam in front of our face. And my buddy Clayton was scratched 11 times. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, yeah.
I don't quite get that whole thing, and I'm with you. I like the dark stuff too, but I think that no matter what, when you get into this, I mean, how would you be able to avoid all of that if you really want to dive deep into this stuff? I mean, they don't call it the abyss for no reason. I'm like, yeah, there's going to be dark stuff.
I mean, I protect myself in the way that I think is right. I've always had things follow me home, but not to like where I have to have somebody come and get rid of it, or I have to cleanse my house. I think, and I don't know if it. Go ahead. Sorry,
you take care of it yourself. Can you expand upon what happens? I mean, what has happened to you when you take them home?
Basically, and it happens to all of us. And give it a week or two, and we all talk, and we've all got something to say. What I think it happens is that when we go here, you draw so much from this place, and it's like you're a charged battery. So when you come home, you're basically letting that battery just deplete itself. And so it's like stagnant energy that's attached to you, and it just kind of goes away.
Right. No, I mean, like, what kind of activity have you had in your home after coming out of an investigation? Yeah.
When we went to Ohio, when we went to Prospect Place, that's another thing that I left out. After the incident happened, when I saw what I saw and I felt what I felt, and I went inside and I got sick to my stomach, once I came to and I continued the investigation, I did a spirit box session. And when I did that spirit box session, my arms started burning, like up to my elbows, both of them. It's like I could feel the heat rising. But then my team member brought it to my attention. The guy who built this mansion, he also built the railroad system that was close to the property. And this was back in like the Civil War. And there was a train carrying items and a train carrying people that crashed and scolded people, killed them. They were brought to the mansion because that was the closest place for them to die and for them to receive help. So, and it was also used as a place for the Underground Railroad. This guy was from Virginia. Ironically, he was from where I was born and moved to Ohio. When his father died, he took his wealth, and he also became wealthy, built this mansion, which was used, it was built literally to house slaves as they were crossing over to the north. I mean, there's so many crazy things that go on there. But when we got there and we started everything, we did a spirit box session. Or no, we weren't even doing that. We got everything charged. We set up everything, and we were going to start the investigation. We're all walking in a group, and all of a sudden we hear 7. A female voice just say 7. Out of nowhere, like clear as day, loud. So throughout the night, I'm like, what is 7? What does that mean? And we weren't getting any answers. And I left so much out. But before I had the experience outside with the entity, and I was doing a spirit box session, I was asking, what does 7 mean? I was trying to get an answer, and nothing was saying anything. And I said, what's upstairs? And it said the void. Now, I've never had a spirit box. I mean, that's controversial because you can hear things that you want to hear and you just don't know.
Right.
But I've never had anything repeat itself. And to me, it's impossible for it to repeat itself because it goes through radio frequencies. It's jumping through multiple stations. So if it were to pick up a word that was like from something, the likelihood of it saying it again on another sweep that's like way beyond that station is not, it's just not going to happen. And I said, what did you say? And it said, the void. Same voice, same tone, everything. And I said, if we go upstairs, will you show yourself? And it said, yes. And before we went upstairs to the void, which we took as like the portal, which is where the evil stuff is supposed to happen, we went outside to take a break because, like I said, it was hot. And that's when the thing happened to me happened. But with that being said, we came back. I had a residential investigation to go to. But it was right down the road from one of my members' house. I go there and she told me there was 3 spirits in the house. There was a woman, a child, and a man. And so I go there and I'm doing spirit box, I'm doing EVP, and I get a girl, I get a child, and I get a man. And I didn't think I was going to get anything because I just didn't think I was. But there was a 4th voice, and that voice was not a good voice. That's the only way I could describe it. It sounded demonic. These spirits were not acknowledging us. They were not answering any of our questions. We were walking around and we were asking questions. And I have EVPs of the child would say it and then the man would say it, or vice versa, the girl or the child. They would, as we were walking down the hallway, it would say, run, run, hide. And then the other one would repeat it. She said that there was something in her basement that her dogs would scratch at in this spot on the floor. This wasn't an old house. And so we asked, is there anything in this house that's not supposed to be? And this voice, the same evil voice, says, there might be. And we're continuing to walk throughout the house. And basically these spirits are interacting with another entity. And the male spirit that she has broke like the sound on my recorder. Like it was hard to understand him. Like you could tell he was yelling. And he said, look what you've done. And the male, the woman and then the child say, who are you? They say it right after another. And this is clear as day. This voice says, the white ghost. And we get done with the investigation. I go to my team member's house. It's right down the road. And I'm saying bye to him and everything. And another one rode with me. And so did my wife. My wife went on that one. She's not about this life at all. But she thought because it was residential, she'd be okay. But so I'm putting some stuff that's in my pocket, like my voice recorder and stuff like that. And I throw it in the trunk. My walkie-talkie is off. And it was on like a mode where if you were to push the buttons, it won't say anything. It was off. I threw my stuff from my pocket into my bag, and all of a sudden, my walkie-talkie says 7.
Jeez.
Yeah, so that lady will not let me come back to her house. I think whatever they were talking to came with us from Ohio, and it was not like a normal voice. And like things like that, where it's like in Ohio, it said 7. It sounded like the same thing. And it happened in my trunk of my car a week later with my walkie-talkie being off.
Oh, wow. So your wife was along with you for that one. What did she say about that? Was she kind of like, okay, well, that's why I don't come along? And does she still go? I'm not going.
No, she won't go anymore.
Yeah.
She's not. I mean, I give her credit. Well, basically, she married into it because I was doing this before I met her. So,
right.
She just doesn't want anything to happen. She doesn't want anything to come home. And she's seen things. I mean, my dogs, she's taken my dogs out. And this is always when I get back from an investigation. She took one of my dogs out. She said she heard something run up on her, like with force. Like if a person were to like come charging at her. She like looked up and there was nothing. And she said my dog reacted too. Like, I was on the phone with someone who called me about this crazy case at their house, and I'm on the phone with them, and they're like, "Is it a demon? Is it a demon?" And I'm like, "I don't think it is, but I don't know." She's like, "Well, what should I do?" I was like, "Just state your boundaries, like stand up for yourself. That's the only thing you really can do right now." And she wouldn't let it go about well, are you sure it's not a demon? And then all of a sudden, my wife is in our bedroom with us, and she has these glass lotion bottles on her nightstand. They fall over, and so does her picture of her deceased dog, and they fall on the ground. Yeah, I mean, and it's so weird how things work with me. It's like when I cut off, it's like a light switch. When I cut it off and I say I'm not doing it anymore, life is normal. I'm doing the normal boring things. I'm going to work. I'm coming home and cleaning, cooking, just I'm not really enjoying my life. Like I can't do what I really want to do.
Right.
But then when I turn it back on, it's like I'm getting emails from people that I don't think people typically get. Like I got an email when I reached out to those people, the psychics, and I got an email from a guy who's a famous opera singer to join my group. And then, I get a call about doing an interview for a documentary in the paranormal. And I'd never get calls or emails from people about doing an investigation or joining my group. But the second I turn that switch on, it's like it's like my social media all of a sudden comes on and notifies people hey, he's back or something. It's just...
That's interesting. Yeah, you're some kind of a lightning rod, but you also send out some kind of a signal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've had people tell me, there's some... I have the kind of face where either you love me or you want to kill me. And I've had... I don't know why, but people... I've had people tell me, they feel like I have an old soul. I went through, a real dark, deep, depressing state when I was 17. What I thought was the love of my life cheated on me with one of my childhood best friends, and I lost my cool. And my stepmom is bipolar, so I was talking to her about my problems. She basically kind of made me think that I was manic depressed. So I went to go talk to a therapist, and basically I told him what he wanted to hear because I thought there was something wrong with me and I wanted medication. Mm-hmm. But that wasn't the case. And I mean, he was telling me the same thing. He's like, I don't think anything's wrong with you. I think basically I just went through a hard time in life, but it's the same thing over and over. People just tell me there's something different about me. I mean, this was kind of off topic and I don't want to sound like a pig or anything, but I used to go to the strip club a lot, not for those reasons, but I had a friend, she would want to go up there all the time, and I was going through some things. So this was for a year. I would go up every other weekend, and I would go up just to get drunk. Basically, they give you more alcohol than a typical bar. That's literally what I would do. I would just get drunk and just basically feel bad about myself. And I was there one night. I went to the bar to get a shot, and I'm probably 3 or 4 shots in, and I'm walking back to meet up with her, and this guy stops me, and he says, "Did your mother die?" And I said, "Yeah." Why? He's like, "Well, she just told me to tell you that she heard that song that you wrote for her, and she wanted me to tell you that she was okay and that she loved it and she loves you." And I lost my cool. I mean, I'm bawling in a strip club, and my friends are like, "What the hell did you do to him?" I couldn't even talk. That's what I mean. Just weird things like that. Why, in that kind of environment, you don't know me. You know what I mean? In that kind of environment, you're really going to approach me, and how do you know that? You know what I mean? I've never told anybody that.
And you didn't know this guy at all?
I've never seen him before in my life. And he's like, "I don't know what happened, but she just stopped me and told me to tell you this."
Because you did, in fact, write a song for your mother.
Yeah. My mom died when I was 17 years old. She had multiple sclerosis since the day I was born. So I literally watched my mom deplete to nothing. And Yeah, I mean, I make music now still. I mean, I just dabble in it. It's just kind of something. It's kind of like when people write in a diary or write a poem. I just do it for self-help. But yeah, I mean, I don't let anybody hear that. Like, no one's ever heard, like, only close people. So, like, she didn't even know that, like, my friend. So that was just weird, man. It's crazy to me how, like, I'm appreciative and I like the fact that I'm connected like that because I feel more closer to, like, I don't know how else to say it, like the earth, like life, God, like I feel alive. I don't like the bad stuff though. Like, I don't know where it comes from. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a warning. I don't know if it's because that's what I attract, or maybe it's something that I need to work on internally. Like, I don't know. But it's just crazy to me how crazy life is. Like, I'm not a normal 27-year-old. Like, I don't really listen to music that much. I listen to podcasts like yours on my 2-hour commute to go build bridges. And it's just crazy the things that I hear, like, that people talk about on your show and the things that you talk about. And it's crazy to me how crazy this world is. I mean, the things that you can encounter.
No, I like how you said that you feel more normal and you're happy when you are dabbling into this or you're talking to people about this, because I feel very much the same way. I can't imagine my life without being a part of this somehow. Now, of course, I don't have the experiences that you do personally, but just living vicariously through the rest of you guys, it definitely makes me feel more like myself.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there would be a point where, I know you said you miss it when you take a break, but have you ever thought of, well, what would be the breaking point? What would be too much for you? And that might be an impossible question to answer, but.
I mean, me and my wife are planning on having a kid, in the next couple years. And if anything that's one thing that I think about more than anything. Like, if something were to happen to my child, or like to my dogs, because right now my dogs are my kids,
right.
Or my wife, like, that's something that I wouldn't be able to handle. The world can do whatever it wants to me because I've been through so much and all that. I don't know. I mean, that's a tough question. I mean, because I don't know what could happen, but
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that psychic told me that I'm going to come to a crossroad, and basically, I'm either going to open up my full abilities, and it's just going to flood in, or I'm going to turn my back on it, and it's never going to come back.
Did she say how you would get to your full abilities and what that actually means?
No, she didn't get into detail about it. She just told me that it was going to be really soon.
And this is when you contacted her recently on Facebook, you said, right?
No, this was the same encounter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So,
wow.
I don't know.
No, as far as, because you did mention a lot of this is on video, which is very cool. You guys did your homework. You made sure everything was covered. Are these videos, or is there any audio that is available for the public to see right now?
No, I don't think there is. No, I've let everything go because the group just kind of fell apart. I mean, It was all on the website. I don't know if the website's still up. But no, I mean, it's not. I'm not ashamed to put it out. Like, I'm not fearful of it. It's just, I haven't had the time or energy to put it out on a platform because I'm still trying to figure everything out with the group. I mean, we're in a good place now because we kind of got rid of the negativity, and like I said, we're working with the other two people that I got in contact with, and we're trying to start something new. So
great, that's good. I'm glad to hear it. And if this is crossing a boundary, of course, you can just say I can't talk about that. But is Clayton going to come back into the picture with you and your research?
No.
Okay.
No, he. It's not that he can't. It's just he chooses not to by by living the life that he lives.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't talked to him. I haven't talked to him in like a year. I've only kept in contact with Matt. I mean, it's hard when you quote unquote grow up and, you know, move out, move away, and you have other priorities. It's just, I can't stop what I'm doing on a dime to go hang out. I've got to pre-plan stuff, and I mean, it's sad. It's really sad. I mean, I came into his life for a reason, because I went to school with him, and when I went through the rough time with the ex-girlfriend and the therapist, I got expelled from school, and I was forced to get my GED because I didn't drive, so I couldn't travel to another school, and I lost contact with everybody. I didn't see anybody for years. Everyone thought, because of the life that I lived, that I was dead. And all of a sudden one day, I'm ordering pizza like 10:30 at night, and he delivers my pizza. Doesn't look the same. I mean, it's been years. He put on some pounds, and but I look the same. I've looked the same since I was little, and he recognized me, and he's like, hey, you know, he reached out and he's like, we should catch up. We should hang out. And I really was socially awkward because of everything that happened and the time that I took off from society. And like, I didn't have any social media. I didn't dabble in anything like that. I stayed very private. I was a recluse, and I started hanging out with him, and Clayton came along, and next thing I know, about a year later, you know, we're best friends. Like, we're brothers. We would do anything for each other. And I was on my way to meet up with him and his girlfriend at the time that he went to high school with, and he was with her for 3 years in high school. And he was coming one way and I was coming another to meet up with her at the river. And he calls me hysterically crying, saying she got in a car accident and died. And his parents, I don't know why, you know, he had friends that stuck around for a hell of a lot longer than I did. They're all reaching out to me. Everyone's reaching out to me, telling me to watch him and to make sure he doesn't do anything stupid. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I was there for a reason, and it's just weird how it works. It's sad. I mean, it's sad, but hopefully there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Are you kind of wondering if those four numbers, 19, 20, 15, 16, might come up again? Are you kind of watching for that, or you just, it'll come up when it comes up and it'll hit you the way it has before?
I want to know what it means. So yeah, I want to know, like, I want it to happen. Give me the answer, because I've figured it all out. Like, stop playing the Ouija board, because we didn't play it that night. So
right, you didn't get a chance to.
why is it connected to his child? Like, it just doesn't.
And now the child says that he sees ghosts, right? Yeah. So what's that all about?
I'm not entirely sure, but I have my own theories on certain things, and I don't fully believe them, but I've heard from other people that, you know, when you dabble in the negative stuff, or you have a negative mindset going into things and you don't protect yourself, spirits can ruin your life. They can affect your health, your wealth, your loved ones. And my buddy Matt, he had like 6 months or a year left in college. He was working as a electrician apprentice. He had like 6 months to a year to become a licensed electrician. He was making like $1,500 a week. He just let it all go. And while he knew he was pregnant, and I mean, I've talked to him about it. I said, do you think maybe it's because of the stuff that we did? And because he says he still sees the light, he still sees the shadows and stuff like that. Like, he still has weird stuff happening to him. And I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. Drugs got involved in a lot of it, and I don't know what everyone does now, but we're not the same. I'm not even the same, even though, you know, I moved up in life, if that's what you want to call it. I'm still not. I mean, I'm the same, but I went one direction and they went the other. And it's not out the window. I mean, I started it with them, and I brought on other people with them being involved, and it's sad. I mean, but it is what it is. I can't, I put it all on hold for a long time for them because I wanted things to happen. I wanted things to work, and I wasn't able to fulfill what I wanted to do. And I finally got to a point where I just said, screw it. I got to let them go. And that's why they say you should never mix friends with business, because it was so hard for me to cut those ties. But in order for me to succeed and go about what I wanted to do, I had to, quote unquote, get rid of the dead weight.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've told them all this. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, what's next for you then in all this?
I mean, what do you mean? Like, as far as what am I dabbling into next? Or
yeah, investigations, or, you know, are you just kind of holding out hope that you get the crew back together and you guys continue down the road there, or?
The group that I have now, it's two different groups. So it's my group of 4 people, and then we're working with a group of 2 people. We're going to go to a place called Old House Woods in Roanoke, Virginia. And that place has had history with pirate ships and treasure. Like, that's like a urban legend there.
Oh, nice. I love that.
And yeah, supposedly I know another group out of Virginia that they say it's the place that they go to, that every time they go, they say they're never going back, but they always go back.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, they've said they've seen a pack of hunting dogs running and something chasing behind them, way larger. He said he saw this thing pick up one of the dogs and just take off and went to the pond.
Something supernatural or something just flesh and blood?
We don't have anything like that around here. I mean, even the wolves are not that big. I mean, you got to think about a hunting dog. It's not going to be a small dog. So
no.
And a pack of them. Yeah. I mean, they were running from something. And when he said that, something picked it up and took off with it. Yeah. I don't know. That's the first thing I thought of, was like Dog Man or something.
Right.
Like
that's what I was kind of getting at. Yeah. I would love to hear that story. And I would, if you want to, once you guys go out there, you called it the Old House Woods. I would love to hear if anything happens out there. Stuff with the pirates and really, I mean, places with history, like real history. And it could be very dark. Like we said, we both love that. So you're welcome back anytime to talk about something like that. Have you seen the movie The Ritual?
Yeah, I love that movie.
I do too. When you said something picked up one of the dogs, you know, it was just the first thing that came to my mind because I watched it just the other day, and I'm kind of going, well, that thing was pretty big. Not that I'm saying that's what it was. I was just wondering if you had seen that movie.
I sure hope not.
I hope not either. Yeah. When you figure out at the end, you know, what Phil was praying to up in the attic of that creepy house in the woods, and you're like, oh, that's what it was. It wasn't a headless man. Oh, that movie's great. Anyhow, yeah, I would love to hear about stories like that. What do you think about things like Dog Man, since you kind of brought it up on the periphery there?
Well, like, I dabble into your podcast. Like, I'm not following it from the beginning. Like, I'll just like, I'll just listen to that one. I've never heard, like, I know you've had experiences, but I don't know, like, what you've experienced. But, like, people talk about Bigfoot and stuff like that, and I don't know if I believe that, because I would believe it to be like a bodied animal. And why wouldn't you have found a body of a living animal? Yeah. So, like, I don't know if it's supernatural, but, like, that's one thing that I would want to have an experience with is a Bigfoot, for sure.
Yeah, me too.
Aliens, not so much, though. Aliens, not so much.
No, then you get the missing time, and then you're like, well, I guess I have to go under hypnosis to find out what really happened. And then do you really want to know at that point, right? It becomes this whole gray, no pun intended, gray area. So, Yeah, I completely agree. But
I mean, all this stuff is connected though. Like
yeah, I
the
think so too.
aliens, the ghost, and the cryptids. Everyone tries to stay to themselves, but they're all really connected because everywhere that I've gone, there's always been reports of like UFO activity. Or anytime majority of the time when I hear about people talking about like Sasquatch, there's always some sort of like extraterrestrial stuff going on.
Right.
So
I know.
everyone needs to go ahead.
No, but you go ahead.
I was just going to say, everyone needs to come together because if we're investigating something that could technically not be real, like for us to not work together just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And for people to say like, I've got it figured out and I can solve this, you really can't though, because that's why it's the paranormal. We don't understand any of it.
When someone says they're an expert, I just feel the bile rising in my throat, you know?
I'm a professional ghost hunter. That's what I love.
Maybe you haven't come across this story, and it's fine. I'm not, faulting you if you haven't heard every single episode of my podcast, but when I was out at the Brown property for the purposes of Bigfoot, okay, I saw that light in the woods, and one of the guys out there, he has this very expensive FLIR technology that detects thermal heat off bodies and things that are living.
Yeah.
And we couldn't find a guy lying on the ground that fell or was trying to be undetected by our eyeballs and the FLIR that had a headlamp on. And I know that there's more people out there that have had these kind of experiences, whether they be the phantom lights far away, or, people say that there's, I saw like campfires, just random quote unquote campfires lighting up in various parts of a ravine or up a hill or something. And I say that I wanted to always tell that story because I've always been honest about this. It frustrated me, and it still frustrates me because I don't want it to be anything but flesh and blood creature, as something out there hunting and bleeding and dying, and whatever they do with their dead, that's a whole nother story, if that's what's going on. But that's why I came out and admitted I saw a light when I was out for Bigfootery, and it actually kind of pissed me off because I didn't, you know what I mean? Like I didn't want to have it connected at all, but maybe it is. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I've got my whole theory on it, but I don't know if it would make sense to anybody else, but I don't think it's a body. I don't think it's an animal because we're pretty smart. I mean, we bury our dead, but we don't bury our dead for a long time. And you'd find it. I mean, with all the excavations that go on, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. But what also doesn't make any sense to me is the fact that people see something, and why are they seeing that? Like, if anything, why are they seeing that, and why are people saying the same thing?
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I would love to. I don't know a way to even look up like Bigfoot sightings or to even go explore that. But I would love to like do something like that. Like that's what I'm all about. That's why I do the investigating, is because I'm an adventurer. I'm a historian, and like I'm a thrill seeker. I would love to go out there and in pitch black and just go look for a giant ape.
You being the lightning rod that you are, I'll have to take you out the next time I go on something having to do with Bigfoot, really. What's fascinating is some of these old reports, I mean really, really old, or the reports of people that they don't even know what the hell internet is, or the web, or AOL when we still had dial-up, and they're reporting things spot on that we do today. How do you explain that? I don't know.
Yeah, and the Hat Man with the dreams, and how are people seeing the same thing? Okay,
before I let you go, if we could swing back to your original tale that you open with, and when you were 6, 7, or 8 years old, and it's the figure in the fetal position. Terrifying, by the way. That I saw that and I'm going, oh my God. The red eye thing. I mean, your entity doesn't have red eyes as far as you know, because you can't see her or its face. It has long hair, but we don't know if it's a female, right? They may not have genders. But what do you think that was in the corner of your room on the ceiling, really?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. The psychic told me that I had a what did she say? I had a imaginary friend. And I looked at her and I said, I didn't have any. I had an imagination, that's for sure. But I didn't talk to anything that wasn't there. So I don't know if that's what she was talking about, but I told her that. I was like, that definitely wasn't a friend. It looked like the body type. You ever seen the movie Spawn?
Yes.
Okay, that's what it looked like. It was definitely like short-necked. The outline wasn't of like a slender person. It was it almost kind of looked like it was in like a cloud almost is what it. Yeah. So, and it would just. I couldn't sleep. Like I'd sleep with my dad till I was like 10 years old. Yeah. Because I just couldn't. I couldn't do it, and I would always get this feeling like, I guess like a sixth sense. I could just still to this day, I just at a random, I'll just get this weird feeling like there's something watching me. And like everyone tells me, like when I tell them the things that happen in my house, well, why don't you do an investigation there? Why don't you use your equipment? Because honestly, I don't want to know. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
I have an Ovilus that talks to you. It says words. I'm afraid to even check the batteries on it because I don't want it to say anything. Like, right. You know what I mean? It's just, I know I dabble in it, but if you're here, just do whatever you're doing. Stay to yourself.
Yep, totally agree. You might have run across the many times I've said that.
Yeah.
I'm always like, look, if I go out to a location, you're kind of expecting it and you're kind of hoping it happens. But when it's at your own house, you're like, nah, I'm good. Nah. Mm.
Yeah.
Did it ever go into your dad's room then? It was always just in your room.
Yeah. I mean, I had weird things happen prior to that, with like the whole light as a feather, stiff as a board things. I've felt like a prickly hand, like a cactus or something when I went to go touch a doorknob in the dark. After we played light as a feather, stiff as a board, I went to go turn the doorknob to leave because I was scared, and I felt a full-blown hand, like with pricks, barbs, just like stab my finger. I've had I even have a scar on my finger from where a different house, my sister, she had a bedroom all the way in the back of the house. Her light turned off and she screamed. I ran back there to see what was going on, and she's like, the light turned off, and I opened her door and I'm flicking my hand on the light switch to turn it on. All of a sudden, something like hurt my finger. I pull my hand away and I'm bleeding. And the only thing that's next to the light is a freaking porcelain doll. Like, I don't mess with dolls at all. So, I don't know. I mean, yeah.
So, but you haven't seen that creature entity since with the red eyes?
No, like I said, it kind of started when I could first remember, and then went away when I hit puberty. Because I think it's because my mind was so... Like I was listening to one of your recent podcasts, the dude talking about the winged woman. And yeah, I just I don't know.
So something else my brain keeps gravitating towards, and I said that the last question would be the last, but I swear this will be the last. The entity. You mentioned that she or it, whatever it is, the fingernails. And then you mentioned this charcoal blackened looking skin up until its wrist. What is that? What the hell does that mean?
Well, it goes up to the elbows. It's like the skin is pale white. Like it's like it almost looks like sweat. Like they were sweating. But the charcoal goes from the fingers, which is the most dark, up to, like, it dissipates like 3/4 up to the forearm, and it just
Okay.
basically looks like someone were to like stick their hand in like chalk or something, or black chalk or something. I don't know. I mean,
what do you make of that?
I've never put too much detail into like why it looks the way it does or anything like that. It's just the
Yeah.
way that it looks
Yeah.
to me is just, it's not good. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if it didn't have that, then I could just say it could be anything. It could be like a quote unquote like a guardian of some sort, but it doesn't, you know what I mean? It's got certain features that, without it having to say it or show its face,
Right.
letting you know, I'm not here for your benefit.
It's of the dark, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I get the vibe that it's a woman,
Mm-hmm.
but I could be wrong.
Are you happy that it's never looked up at you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I would. I don't know. Depends.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Right.
I know something's gonna happen tonight because I'm talking about it. It
Really?
always does. Yeah, always does.
If it does, I will give you my cell phone number, and you can just leave a voicemail if, you know, because obviously if you keep talking about it, I don't want to keep stirring things up at your house. But if you felt like it, you could always just leave a voicemail and I can add it in. But no, I thank you for talking about all this.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for letting me talk about it.
Absolutely. You know, I hope that you guys get to move forward with, you know, your group and what you want to do. I know it makes you happy, and I get that because doing this makes me happy. So I totally get it. Like if you try to just shut it off and, like you said, you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're going to work, you feel miserable. I know. So I hope that you get to go forward with what you want to do.
Yeah, me too.
All right, Matt. Well, thanks so much. And of course, it can stay just between us. If something happens, you don't have to worry about calling in and doing an addendum voicemail or anything. But I thank you for your time tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I'm so-and-so. I was given this name by my parents. I've been to such and such a college. I've done these things in my profession. I produce a little biography. Buddha says, forget it. That's not true. That's some story. That's all gone. That's all past. I want to see the real you are now. Well, nobody knows who that is. Because we don't know ourselves except through listening to our echoes and consulting our memories. But then there's a real you, and that again leads us back to this question. Who are you? That is the real you. We shall see how they play with this exam by the cohorts to get you to come out of your shell and find out who you really are. your funeral, you will suddenly become somebody different, living somewhere else. They will say reincarnation means this, that if you sitting here now are really convinced that you're the same person who walked in at the door half an hour ago, you're being reincarnated. If you are liberated, you will understand that you're not. The past doesn't exist. The future doesn't exist. There is only the present. That's the only real you that there is. The Zen master Dogen put it in this way. He said, the spring does not become the summer. First there is summer, and then there is spring. When you settle down in the train to read your newspaper and so on, you are not the same person who a little while ago left the platform. If you think you are linking your moments up in a chain. And this is what binds you to the wheel of birth and death. But when you know that every moment in which you are is the only moment, this comes into Zen. A master will say to somebody, get up and walk across the room. And he comes back and he says, where are your footprints? They've gone. So where are you? Who are you? When we are asked who we are, we usually give a kind of recitation of a history.